Have you ever witnessed such an intense moment unfold before your eyes? Tell us, where are you watching from? Drop your country or city in the comments below. And if you don't want to miss what happens next, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. We have another mind-blowing story coming your way tomorrow. You won't believe what's in store. Don't forget to like this video and share it with your friends. Let's keep the conversation going and show our respect for true discipline and honor. The moment a tourist got what he deserved after mocking a royal guard. The morning sun cast a golden glow over Buckingham Palace, its grandeur standing tall as tourists gathered near the gates, eager to witness the iconic changing of the guard. The scene was lively, families snapping photos, tour guides narrating the palace's rich history, and visitors murmuring in admiration of the stoic royal guards who stood motionless, embodying discipline and tradition. But amidst the sea of eager tourists, one man stood out. Vince Carter, a 35-year-old former boxer, towered over the crowd. Broad-shouldered with sharp features, his short blonde hair was neatly cropped, but his imposing presence made it clear he was not just another sightseer. Dressed in a black t-shirt with the words "No Mercy" boldly printed across the front, his muscular arms bore scars from years in the ring. Though retired from professional fighting, his confidence had not faded. His dark sunglasses concealed his eyes, but behind them, he was searching for something, or someone, to challenge. His gaze locked onto one of the guards standing perfectly still at his post. This was Adam Hunt, a 27-year-old Royal Guardsman, dedicated and disciplined. His scarlet tunic gleamed under the morning sun, and his tall bearskin hat added to the striking image of his unwavering stance. He was the embodiment of honor, standing firm with a rifle in hand, his gaze fixed ahead, unshaken by the chattering crowd. Vince smirked, nudging his two friends who stood beside him, looking far less confident than he did. "Look at these guys," Vince said, his voice loud enough for those around him to hear. "They just stand there, don't even blink. Do you think they could take a real punch?" One of his friends shifted uncomfortably. "Come on, Vince. They're just doing their job." Vince chuckled dismissively. "Job? They're statues in fancy uniforms. What good are they if they can't even react?" The crowd around them grew tense. Some visitors instinctively stepped back, sensing trouble. Others, eager for drama, pulled out their phones, anticipating something more than a routine tourist experience. The murmurs spread, the energy shifting. Vince stepped closer to the barrier, his eyes locked on Adam. "Hey, soldier boy. Are you even human, or just a mannequin in a red coat?" The guardsman didn't move, not even a flicker of emotion. But everyone watching knew, this was only the beginning. The air around Buckingham Palace grew heavy as a thick wave of tension spread through the gathered crowd. Tourists who had come to witness the beauty of royal tradition now found themselves part of a scene far more intense than they had expected. All eyes were on Vince Carter, the towering former boxer, as he loomed over the barriers, his presence a stark contrast to the poised and disciplined Adam Hunt, the 27-year-old Royal Guardsman standing resolute in his post. Vince smirked, his dark sunglasses now hooked onto the collar of his No Mercy t-shirt, revealing his piercing blue eyes as they studied the guardsman with a mix of amusement and provocation. He took another step forward, rolling his shoulders as if warming up for a fight. "Come on, soldier boy," he taunted, his voice dripping with mockery. "You're supposed to protect the Queen, right? What happens if someone really tests you?" Adam remained still, his focus unbroken, his grip on his rifle steady. The discipline ingrained in him after years of training would not be so easily shattered. But the crowd around them stirred, whispers growing louder. Some muttered in disapproval, shaking their heads at Vince's blatant disrespect. Others, drawn to the brewing conflict, raised their phones higher, eager to capture the moment for social media. Vince glanced around at the spectators, feeding off their anticipation. He spread his arms wide, as if putting on a grand performance. "Really?" he said, laughing as he turned back to Adam. "Not even a blink? What are you, a machine?" His friends shifted uneasily. One of them reached for Vince's arm, trying to pull him back. "Vince, let it go. This isn't the time or place." But Vince only shrugged him off, his smirk deepening. He clenched his fists, throwing a few quick jabs into the air, his movements sharp and precise, his old boxing instincts kicking in. Then, in a bold and reckless move, he took a step over the barrier. Gasps rippled through the crowd. "No, don't do it," a woman cried, clutching her child's arm. Vince was now inches from Adam, invading the soldier's personal space. The sheer audacity of the act sent a shockwave through the audience. He raised his hand, slowly reaching toward the tall bearskin hat atop Adam's head, his fingers hovering just inches away. The world seemed to pause. Every breath held. Every camera locked in. Would the guardsman finally react? Would Vince push even further? Something was about to happen. And nobody in the crowd was ready for it. The tension at Buckingham Palace was suffocating. The once lively crowd, filled with tourists eagerly snapping pictures, had fallen into an uneasy silence. Every eye was locked onto Vince Carter, the towering former boxer who had now fully stepped over the barrier, something no one dared to do. He was face to face with Adam Hunt, the disciplined royal guardsman who hadn't flinched despite the blatant provocation. Vince's smirk widened. He was enjoying this. The rush of adrenaline, the attention from the growing crowd, and the unwavering stillness of the guard only fueled his arrogance. "You really just gonna stand there, huh?" Vince taunted, tilting his head as he raised his hand even higher, this time aiming for the bearskin hat atop Adam's head. Gasps erupted from the crowd. A woman let out a horrified no, while others whispered urgently, "He's going too far." But Vince wasn't done. His fingers brushed against the edge of the hat, a move that defied every rule surrounding the Queen's Guard. For a split second, the massive headpiece shifted ever so slightly. That's when it happened. In a blur of controlled precision, Adam Hunt took a measured step back, his left boot striking the cobblestone with the same forceful authority as a soldier preparing for battle. The rifle in his hands snapped upward, its gleaming barrel now angled straight at Vince's chest. The air itself seemed to crack under the sheer weight of the moment. The sudden movement sent a shockwave through the crowd. Some people gasped, others stumbled backward, gripping their phones tighter. A child clutched their father's sleeve, eyes wide in terror. But Vince didn't move. For the first time, his cocky expression faltered, just for a fraction of a second. His body tensed, the instincts of a trained fighter clashing against an unfamiliar feeling, uncertainty. But instead of stepping back, instead of admitting he had crossed the line, Vince did something even more reckless. He shoved Adam. The force was enough to make Adam stagger back a step, but his balance held firm. The murmur in the crowd turned into shouts, anger, disbelief, horror. Someone yelled, "That's assault." A man in a suit frantically turned toward security. "Get the police." But Vince wasn't finished. His breathing had quickened, his adrenaline now fully in control. He rolled his shoulders, fists clenching, his fighter's instinct overriding all common sense. His voice was lower now, more serious. "Come on, tough guy," he muttered. "Let's see if you're as strong as they say." Adam Hunt remained locked in place, the embodiment of unshakable discipline. But something had changed. The next move wouldn't be his to make. The crowd held its collective breath. The tension at Buckingham Palace had escalated from a reckless stunt to outright aggression. Vince Carter, the towering former boxer, had just shoved a royal guard, something unthinkable, something that violated every rule of respect and decorum. The moment hung in the air, heavy and suffocating. Adam Hunt remained still for a fraction of a second longer, his face a mask of absolute control. But behind those disciplined eyes, a decision had been made. Suddenly, Adam moved. It was swift, deliberate, a precise, calculated reaction born from years of training. In a single, controlled motion, Adam took a powerful step forward, slamming the butt of his rifle into Vince's chest. The impact was explosive. Vince's breath left his lungs in a sharp, painful exhale as he stumbled backward. His arms flailed for balance, but the force of the strike had knocked him off his center. His foot slipped on the smooth stone of the plaza, sending him crashing onto his back. The crowd erupted. Shouts of shock, excitement, and sheer disbelief filled the air. Tourists gasped, others cheered, and dozens of phones were already recording what had just happened. For a moment, Vince just lay there, blinking at the sky, his ego bruised more than his body. But then, humiliation turned to rage. With a growl, Vince scrambled to his feet, his movements less controlled, more animalistic. His fists clenched, his jaw tightened, and his eyes burned with the kind of fury that only a man with something to prove could have. "You want to play like that?" he spat, his voice dripping with anger and embarrassment. Vince lunged. His right arm swung forward, a boxer's punch loaded with power and precision, a move he had used in countless fights, a move that had dropped trained fighters in the ring. But Adam was ready. Just as the punch was about to land, Adam sidestepped with military precision, letting Vince's momentum carry him forward. In the same breath, Adam pivoted, his boot sweeping Vince's legs out from under him. Vince went down. Hard. His body slammed against the stone pavement, a sickening thud echoing through the plaza. This time, there was no quick recovery. He groaned, rolling onto his side, his pride shattered in front of hundreds of spectators. The cheers from the crowd doubled. People clapped, shouted, whistled. Someone yelled, "That's what happens when you mess with the royal guard." Vince, coughing as he pushed himself up on his elbows, finally realized he had lost. And that's when the security officers arrived. The moment the security officers stepped in, the energy in the air shifted. Vince Carter, still sprawled on the pavement, wiped blood from the corner of his mouth. His breathing was ragged, his pride shattered beyond repair. The cheers and jeers from the crowd stung more than the fall itself. He could feel the weight of 100 camera lenses locked onto him, recording every humiliating second. Then, a sharp voice cut through the noise. "Stand down. You are under arrest." Two Royal Guard security officers, dressed in sharp black suits with earpieces, approached with deliberate authority. Their posture, their presence, they meant business. Vince scrambled to his feet, but the officers were faster. One grabbed his arm, twisting it behind his back in a controlled yet firm grip. The other stepped in front of him, his expression as unyielding as the guards he had just mocked. "Assaulting a royal guard is a criminal offense," the officer stated coldly. "You will be taken into custody immediately." Vince struggled, trying to break free. But his strength meant nothing against their training. His defiance lasted mere seconds before the sharp click of handcuffs sealed his fate. The crowd erupted once more. Some clapped. Others whistled in approval. One tourist shouted, "Serves him right. Respect the guard." Another added, "That's what happens when you think you're bigger than tradition." Vince's face burned. He tried to protest, but his voice was swallowed by the sea of cheers and laughter. The realization hit him like a freight train: he was no longer the feared boxer, the man who dominated in the ring. He was just another fool who had pushed too far. Meanwhile, Adam Hunt remained standing, his posture as perfect as ever. His uniform, though slightly disheveled from the encounter, still commanded respect. His rifle was back in place, his gaze forward, a true embodiment of discipline. As Vince was dragged toward the waiting police car, his eyes flickered toward Adam. For the first time, he understood. The Royal Guards weren't just decoration. They weren't just there for show. They were warriors of discipline, defenders of tradition, men who could not be broken. And as Vince disappeared into the back of the police car, the world would never forget his mistake. Have you ever witnessed something so shocking that you couldn't look away? Today's story was one for the books. A moment of arrogance turned into an unforgettable lesson in respect and discipline. Now, we want to hear from you. What do you think about Vince Carter's actions? Was he just a reckless show-off, or did he truly believe he could break the unwavering discipline of the Royal Guard? And what about Adam Hunt? Did his unshakable composure impress you? Let's talk about it in the comments below. If you were there, standing in that crowd, would you have spoken up, or simply watched in awe as the drama unfolded? And most importantly, do you think the punishment Vince received was fair, or should it have been even harsher? Drop your thoughts in the comments. We're reading every single one. Also, let us know where you're watching from. It's always incredible to see how many of us come together for these stories. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss the next jaw-dropping tale. We have another unbelievable story coming your way tomorrow. Stay tuned.